Social Democrat YouTuber Kyle Kulinski recently made a video where he criticized Joe Biden for trying to strong arm North Korea into giving up its nukes. Kyle rightly pointed out how it's really futile to try to get North Korea to do that because North Korea is making and testing nukes out of necessity because Washington is obviously going to invade them otherwise. He also criticized the media for rather dishonestly portraying North Korea's nuke testing as evil or scary when really Washington is the real threat. But then Kyle gave his opinion on what Washington's foreign policy towards the DPRK should be like.
Try the exact opposite of what you've been trying all these years. Because I think if you can sort of invade culturally, that will pay dividends down the road. So in other words, sanctions relief, some sort of peace agreement, some sort of deal that we abide by. Like, again, this is a terrible example because the U.S. already pulled out of the Iran deal. But if you do an Iran deal, if you go back in the Iran deal and you do a North Korea deal that's like the Iran deal, or you're even more lenient in that deal, if you can open them up culturally and economically, that's how you begin to see it pays off in the long run. And, it's highly unlikely you're going to go to war with some country that you've developed a neutral footing on. And so that would be my instinct would be to try to get to some sort of a neutral footing. And also, the more you get on a more neutral or favorable footing with them, then also the more you can impact their internal politics. And the guy's a terrible authoritarian, and so you do want to reform the way he acts and the terrible way he treats his people with the hard labor camps and things of that nature. And so I think the best way to do that is fundamentally the opposite approach of what we've been doing.
The guy sounds like a missionary. He sounds like someone who's so overly confident in the supposed superiority of his own culture over that of Korea's that he can't recognize the innately imperialistic implications of what he just advocated for. Firstly, Kyle, your culture, Americanism, is based around the exploitation and theft of indigenous lands. America only continues to exist because of this illegal occupation, and you don't fundamentally want to get past that. You just want to reform U.S. imperialism so that the empire creates more social programs for its own citizens while continuing to screw over the victims of global imperialism, also internal imperialism, who will inevitably continue to exist for as long as the United States exists. Social democracy is not revolutionary. Its goal is to fortify the core imperialist countries so that empire and capitalism can continue. Kyle's goal is not proletarian anti-colonial revolution. It is a fortification of this system through the same means that FDR used to fortify the American empire. Secondly, Kyle, you do not understand the true political situation within North Korea. Kim Jong-un is not a dictator. He is not a tyrant. He is not a monarch. He was democratically elected according to a free and transparent electoral process, as are all the officials within North Korea who Kim Jong-un shares power with. The DPRK's political system is far more democratic and free than that of the United States has ever been or ever will be. And all of the supposed human rights abuses that Kyle named are not real. All of the atrocity stories that we hear about North Korea originate from defector testimonies that were gleaned from defectors who were either pressured or were outrageously paid by these agents of Western regime change who are trying to recolonize that part of the Korean peninsula and manufacture consent for a genocidal regime change agenda. You can watch documentaries about how these intelligence agencies from South Korea and the U.S. farm defectors to make up stories, to make North Korea look bad. But if you were to personally challenge Kyle on these positions about North Korea, I'm pretty sure he would double down on his positions because, again, he is not a revolutionary socialist. He is a social democrat, and that means that his position towards communist countries like North Korea is fundamentally one of wanting to liberate them. So he's operating under the same cultural hegemony that the people who he rightly criticizes are operating under. It's just that his position, his imperialistic position towards North Korea, is a little bit more mild.